Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutritionist Amy Berger from toitnutrition.com, bringing you yet again keto without the crazy. I'm recording my second video for September 29th, and if you watched the previous one, the one called Let Me Help You, I already showed you my blue tongue. So if you notice that my mouth looks a little weird, that's why. You know me, keto without the crazy, keto without the zealotry, keto without the nutty religiosity, food purity. So yeah, every now and then I have a drink with some artificial coloring. Oh my God, it probably also had some artificial sweetener in it. I've been drinking this stuff for 25 years. I'm still alive, still in seemingly excellent health. So what do I want to talk to you about today? Well, first of all, I was too lazy to change, which is why I'm still talking to you in my walking outfit with the blue tongue and no makeup and my hair not done. So just because it saves time, right? The quicker I do these videos, the more I can put out. If you guys like to have content, more than one video a week, then it's not always going to be in real clothes. So what I want to talk about today is not extrapolating from your favorite keto, low carb, paleo, nutrition, health person, guru, figure, influencer, whatever you want to call them. Don't extrapolate anything they didn't actually say. Do not put words in anyone's mouth. Don't take away things they didn't say. And here's what I mean. I have some really interesting discussions with other low carb, keto personalities, whatever you want to call us, at some of the conferences I go to. And very often what comes up is how things that are said are so wildly, crazily misinterpreted by the people out there. For example, fasting. Fasting has become such a huge thing, right? And fasting can be enormously helpful. I'm not opposed to fasting, whether we're talking about what I prefer to call time-restricted eating rather than intermittent fasting, eating 1 or 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals and a million snacks, or whether we're talking about a 2-day fast, a 5-day fast. Fasting can be very helpful, very therapeutic. It's not required to get the metabolic benefits of a low-carb diet. It may have other effects above and beyond just restricting carbohydrates, but I don't want to get too far into those details. My point is, even somebody like Jason Fung, the fasting guy, the fasting expert, even Megan Ramos, right? I've heard them speak many times. Never, ever, ever have they even hinted that everyone must fast, that everyone even should fast, or that something bad is going to happen if you don't fast. They haven't said that. Nobody said that. Where you hear stuff like that is among these armchair jockeys, these internet desk keyboard jockeys online, misinterpreting what the doctors and nutritionists and researchers are saying. Just because there may be a role for fasting for someone who, for example, is dealing with cancer, right, under physician supervision for a certain purpose done in a certain way, fasting might have a role as an adjunct to traditional cancer treatment. So just because that might be true, I'm not saying it is, just because there's a possibility there, doesn't mean that if you don't fast for 6 days out of every week, doesn't mean you're giving yourself cancer if you like to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's the weird misinterpretation of what the expert actually says. Do you remember the game Telephone? When I was a kid, you would sit in a circle with a whole bunch of other kids, and the first person would say a sentence, whatever the sentence was. The sky is blue and there are white clouds. You repeat it to the next person. It gets repeated from person to person to person until it goes around the whole circle. And by the time that message comes back to the person who originally said it, it resembles nothing like what they originally said. By the time that message comes back, now the sky is green and there's red clouds. Like, where did you get that from? That is so not what the first person said. But this is what we see happening in the low carb and keto space, right? Like Stephen Finney could say one very reasonable, rational, scientifically sound thing, And the way it gets transmitted on Twitter and Reddit and Instagram is like, where did you get that from? That's not what Dr. Finney said, and based on what Dr. Finney actually did say, it's definitely not what he meant. It's not what he meant to imply. And this, I think this is where we're starting to get into trouble now with people. Again, I'll just use fasting as one example. There's many more, but where people are like worried that they're doing something wrong if they're not fasting. You know, what about autophagy? Newsflash, your body engages in autophagy all the time. Your body is recycling and breaking down stuff all the time. It may be upregulated. It may happen a lot more when you don't have new proteins and new things coming into the system. Sure, that doesn't mean it's never happening if you're not doing a 10-day fast. And we just see this, we kind of see this everywhere. This is why things get so crazy, why people are so worried about every little blip on the radar. You know, we had, I was at an event in Ottawa last weekend where Sally Norton spoke about oxalates. And, you know, oxalates, for those of you who don't know, you can look her up online. It's a compound found in certain plant foods, not all, that can be very harmful, I guess, to various tissues, various organs. And it does appear that there are people that have very severe oxalate sensitivity. But there are people, like for example, spinach is very high in oxalates. Almonds are high in oxalates. So there are people who can have a giant bag of spinach for lunch and a big salad and they're fine. There's people that can have the almond flour brownie or a cup of almond milk and they're fine. So not everyone has an oxalate sensitivity. But when we come to hear about all of these different things, it's easy to think that everything that's said by everybody affects you personally. And of course it doesn't, right? There might be a child in your life, or maybe even an adult in your life, who can't even be in the same room with a jar of peanut butter because they'll go into anaphylactic shock. And then there's me, I can eat a whole jar and get up and be fine, which I may have done that in the past. We're not talking about that right now. The point is, just because something is an issue for somebody, or even an issue for many somebodies, doesn't mean it's an issue for you, doesn't mean it's an issue for everybody. And I wish I could think of more examples. I know there are more. I mean, any plant compound that somebody might have an intolerance to, like salicylates, or, you know, I don't even know what, phytic, well, whatever. Phytate is kind of different. Histamines, you know, some people have a histamine sensitivity. Clearly, other people don't. Other people can eat fermented, aged, cured foods just fine, and they're great. So I just want to kind of remind everybody, don't put words in their mouths. Don't hear things that are not explicitly said. The only thing that you can take away is exactly what was said. You might try to interpret it, try to think about, your interpretation might be incorrect. That might not be what that person meant to imply. Why do you think most of my videos are so long? Why do you think most of my blog posts are ridiculously long? It's because I'm trying to be very, very clear. And I'll say the same thing 4 different times, 4 different ways. Because otherwise, somebody's gonna totally misinterpret. And it still happens. It still happens on my videos. It still happens in my blog posts. It still happens on Twitter. I'm like, really? That's what you got out of what I said? How did you possibly, like, I am worried about the state of reading comprehension skills in this country, and maybe worldwide, but mostly in America for now. I am terrified by the lack of reading comprehension, of reading and understanding what the words are actually saying. Not what you think they're saying, not what's not there, but what's there. And I don't know if they're not teaching this in schools anymore. Like when I was a kid, we had reading comprehension tests, like, you know, there was a paragraph that you had to read and there were multiple choice questions about information that was provided in the paragraph. And if it wasn't in the paragraph, clearly it's not the right answer because it's not explicitly stated there. So I just see this all the time. Even, on Mark's Daily Apple, like Mark, I'm a huge fan, by the way, so I don't know if he's watching. Hi, Mark. I can't believe that I have been reading Mark Sisson's blog for like a decade, and now he's reading mine. My video on gout showed up in the weekly Link Love post just this past week. Insert emoji with the head exploding. But I see this on his website, in the comments. Mark's Daily Apple is one of the few websites where I actually do scroll through the comments. Sometimes the comment sections on people's websites and blogs is an absolute cesspool, an absolute quagmire cesspool of human depravity and ignorance and bigotry and yuck. So most of the time I ignore, but Mark's Daily Apple seems to have a pretty good core group of people that I like to read the comments. I like to see what people are taking away, what messages do they have, what concerns, what questions. And sometimes there I'm like, how are they asking this? How did they get that out of this post? Or why would they even write this in response to this post? Things that just make no sense. So that's all. I guess I'll stop talking. I don't really have much else to say, except that I see this happen all the time. And be careful, check yourself, make sure you're not doing it. You don't have to call out anyone else doing it. I guess I'm calling out everyone for you right now, but when you are getting a message from somebody, something someone wrote or something someone said, give yourself that double check. What did they really say? What could they mean? And is it possible that what I think they mean is totally inappropriate, totally a mismatch for what they actually said? Is it safe for me? Is it appropriate for me to even interpret anything beyond what they said? If they're providing information about some type of food or some type of supplement, should I even be reading more into this than exactly what was stated? Because it is equal parts terrifying and hilarious what comes out, what people think and what the buzz is and what people talk about and debate and question each other over and quibble over versus what Jeff Bolick or Mark Sisson or Rob Wolf or Eric Westman or somebody said. So don't read more in than is there, and that's it for now. Check my website too at nutrition.com, the tab that says meet me in person, or I'll just put the links in the notes here. I'll be in Raleigh October 12th. I will be in Houston end of October. Check the dates. It's like October 24th or 25th, 26th-ish. And that's it for now, I guess. My website, I think I just said it, but I'll say it again, too, at nutrition.com. See you next time. Bye.